Welcome, welcome. Oh boy, what a day. What a day to be a New York Mets fan. And I gotta say, there is actually a lot of positivity right now surrounding our New York Mets. This is actually very good going into opening day, which is only, 10 days away? 10, 11 days. So we got opening day coming up right around the corner. And let's examine 5 reasons that I think the New York Mets should surprise all of Major League Baseball. And you know what? There are a lot of reasons. I'm like, you know what? I can come up 10, 15 right off the bat. But we're going to go through some of the really important ones. Drop some that you think are really important factors, reasons why the Mets will probably are going to surprise people. Because like I said, there are quite a few. And again, like always, like, subscribe, share our videos, do all the good stuff. We got interesting baseball content to come. And like I said, the season is right around the corner. All right, so we're going to go into numero uno, the number one reason, or not in any order, the first reason I have on my list that the New York Mets will do a lot better than we think. All right, obviously, we're going to put that on the shoulders of Mr. Edwin Diaz, the best, possibly the best reliever in all of Major League Baseball. And I hope we all remember how good Edwin Diaz was in 2022 because it was like really historically good. Historically good. I don't know when there was another reliever Mets-wise that was as good as him. I just went back, took a quick look at the numbers in 2022. He obviously went 3-1 with a 1.31 ERA. He pitched in 61 games. 61 games. That equaled 62 innings pitched. He only gave up 34 hits. So he gave up half of the amount of hits that he pitched in innings. So, that's crazy right there. Crazy. Earned runs. He gave up 9 earned runs in 62 innings. Nine. That is insane. In 62 innings, he struck out 118 guys. 118 guys, which comes to a 17.1 K per 9 inning. He had a whip of .839, a FIP of .90. It was just off the wall how locked down Edwin Diaz is. And no matter what happens, we want to be more of a run prevention team. Edwin Diaz is going to be able to close the door on games that weren't able to be closed last year. And I'll tell you, a lot of times baseball is about momentum. So if you can close the door on some of these games, you could build up momentum. And that's something I think we really lost in the beginning of June last year. So Edwin Diaz, without a doubt, I gotta say, and Buck Showalter in interviews, he reiterated this point. Edwin Diaz is going to be the key, and he's going to be the reason, the anchor in that bullpen, the reason why I think the Mets are going to win a few more games than people believe. Okay, so let's go to the number 2 reason. And the number 2 reason is a very huge reason at all, and that's going to be the change in overall philosophy that David Stearns is going to instill in our ball club, a la the Tampa Bay Rays, And, we've already seen it in spring training, how a lot of these games, as our owner, Steve Cohen, has mentioned, are quite close. That's because we are using numbers, we are using analytics, we are doing things differently than we did in the past, and that should make things a lot closer. As long as we're in the game, we could win the game. It's baseball. You never know what happened. The Rangers in 2022, they went from a 67-game winner to winning the World Series the very next year. So there's no reason why we can't make a run. No reason why. Arizona, they squeaked into the playoffs last year. They won 84 games. The Rays, the Tampa Bay Rays, they're always notoriously good in a division where the Yankees were good, the Red Sox in the past were good, the Orioles are getting better, so, Toronto Blue Jays, they're good. But the Rays always seem to be in the mix. It's because of philosophy. They take players who are cast-offs on other teams. They look at the player positives and their attributes, and then they use analytics and numbers, and they put guys in positions to succeed. The baseball lab is phenomenal, tweaking pitchers and the way, like, we have some young pitchers like Mike Vassell, Christian Scott. These guys are going to be good because of our new technology, our new baseball lab philosophy. And I think the whole thing that David Stern is going to input his front office, trickling down to the team, is going to help us tremendously. And that's why I consistently say we are going to be the NL East Tampa Bay Rays, at least for this year, until we shed some payroll and we can replace guys with better guys next offseason. So that's what I think. Number two, change in philosophy because of David Stern is going to be a huge factor that will keep us in games, and at the end of the day will lead to more wins. What do you think about that? All right, we'll go to number three. I always find it amazing how players often tend to have career years in their walk years. Aaron Judge, he breaks the single season home run record. He plays in the most games that he's played in quite a while. Of course, it was a walk year. Of course. So we have guys that are in, you could say they're walk years, or they have an option for the second year, but it puts pressure on these guys and it motivates these guys to play well. Our biggest guy being Mr. Pete Alonso, and I think Pete Alonso is going to have a monster year. I would like a little more protection in the lineup, but nonetheless, Pete Alonso is going to have a monster year, in my opinion. Not to mention, you got guys who want to save their career. Luis Severino, he's looked good thus far in terms of stuff. The stuff hasn't gone anywhere, and if he's able to change the things that he was supposedly tipping, it's going to be the sky's the limit for Luis Severino. Like I've mentioned, he was a guy that when I heard he was a free agent this offseason, I wanted him. It was only up until last year when I'm like, oh, the guy stinks now. But if apparently they figured out the reason, then great. And obviously, Sean Manaea, he's another guy. So number three reason, you got some big performers in their walk year. So I feel players in their walk year always surprise the crap out of us and perform way better than the back of the baseball card. Pete Alonso being our biggest guy, and I expect a monster season from Mr. Pete Alonso. So number three reason, guys going into their walk year. Let's go to number four. And honestly, I think number four is actually a very underrated reason, but simply the Mets have lower expectations, a lot less pressure. A lower expectations and a lot less pressure is going to make a world of difference. Last year it was ridiculous the amount of pressure that the Mets had on them. And I forgot what reporter, but there was a reporter that asked Steve Cohen, and it goes, Steve, are you going to put less pressure on yourself this year? And Steve's like, that's not me. That's you guys, the media, putting pressure and putting these expectations on us. And it was kind of funny. And then the guy obviously referred to Steve Cohen guaranteeing a World Series, but that's besides the point. All right, the guys aren't going to have that pressure. We didn't sign any mega free agents this year. We don't have the Verlanders. We didn't get a Snell. We don't have guys that have that pressure, have that baggage that makes everybody think that the Mets should perform better. We are going to have a surprise or a team this year. I think in the fact that our minor leaguers, they have they're viewed as lower prospects, or pitchers aren't as rated as other pitching prospects are. So I think we're going to just at that respect, just surprise a lot of folks. And it's a lot easier playing from that advantage point than every single day you think your team should have to beat the other team. No, the Mets don't come from that. They're not going to wake up being they're going to wake up being the underdog. That's what the bottom line. It is going to be an underdog mentality, and I think in New York City, it is going to help. David Stern's teams, I tell you what, he has always had these underdog teams. So the New York Mets this year, heck yeah, they're going to be an underdog, and you know what? I kind of like that. All right, so the number five reason is actually going to be pretty big as well. So David Stearns, obviously, like I mentioned, he didn't sign any of those mega free agents, but what he was trying to accumulate was debt, trying to accumulate debt. But I gotta say, the number fifth big reason why the Mets will more than likely surprise a lot of people is they have a lot of prospects that are MLB ready in the very, very near future. Really, if you look at it, their prospects are all MLB ready. If you want to go, if you need hitting, you got Acuna who's ready, you got Gilbert who's ready, you got Jet Williams who's ready. On the pitching side, you have Christian Scott, you have Blade Tidwell, Mike Vassell, Dominic Hamill. You got a bunch of guys. Then even if you're really desperate, you could bring up a Tyler Stewart, a Nolan McLean. I mean, you got guys up and down the list that are MLB ready. Pitchers, catchers, Kevin Parada. I mean, we're probably not going to need him, but pitchers, offensive guy, whatever you need. It seems like we have guys in the minor league who are knocking at the door and that are ready. You know, Dominic Hamill, he's looking to break down that damn door. The guy is ready to be a major leaguer in terms of his eyes. Of course, he needs to prove himself. Christian Scott, he had a mega year last year. We have guys who are ready, and I always say that is the key. We need to develop our own guys and not pay crazy pitchers. We need a lot of lower risk guys. We are doing it differently right now. We are doing it differently. And I'll give, the prior regime a bit credit before David Stearns, because all these guys were most likely, they were drafted under that regime, and now they're ready to come to the big leagues within the next year or so. So that's very, very, very extremely exciting. And, just another quick comment, guys like Nolan McLean, Tyler Stewart, even like Calvin Ziegler, Nate Lavender, who we saw a little bit early in spring training. These guys, I know we drafted them, Ziegler, a couple years ago, but I didn't think that they had potential right now. But I mean, you see him in the spring breakout game, you're like, wow, these guys actually have nasty stuff that could play immediately. I think the Mike Vasells, the Dominic Hamills, the Christian Scotts will be higher on, hey, we're going to bring those guys first. But you just see how much depth there is there. There's just such crazy depth at the minor league level. And this is the year where we figure out what we have. At the end of the day, since these pitchers and prospects, aren't well known, we could always build their value too. And if Stearns feel we could flip two or three of these guys and maybe make an a la Christian Yelich trade and make our team that much better, that much sooner, that's also a good thing too. All right, so those are my 5 reasons. What do you think about my reasons? If you could think of some that are even better, I know like I could have went with, Steve Cohen has the most money in the world. Yeah, we could do stuff at the trade deadline, but it's all stuff we already know. I kind of figured. Okay, I just want to comment on one more thing, and it was most recent in the news. I want to comment 2 more things. Number one, we gotta I don't want to say worry about it. Be cognizant of one thing. It's not exactly the same, but the Yankees are dealing with a very kind of scary situation with Aaron Judge. Obviously, they're dealing with injuries with Gerrit Cole, but Aaron Judge right now, last year he signed a 9-year contract. He's making $40 million a year. He's in his second year. His first year of the contract, I believe he played in only 100 games because he had injury concerns. This year, it's not starting off any better. He's got an injury concern with the toe. I see that contract as being almost like, I don't want to say Giancarlo Stanton because I think Judge is going to be more productive, but Judge right now is 32 years old. These injuries aren't going to get any better. Now, I say this because I relate this to Pete Alonso. Now, Pete Alonso doesn't have the same injury concerns, thank God, but I think we can learn a bit from the Aaron Judge contract. I mean, you can't give these guys 9, 10-year contracts anymore. You really can't. It seems like Major League Baseball, a lot of teams are starting to recognize this, that these contracts, are going bad really soon. They really are. It was thought that, the last 10, 15% of the contract, last 1 or 2 years may not be good. But some of these contracts were crazy lengths. And if you sign a guy that's 31 years old to a 9-year contract, you're asking him to play to he's 40 years old. A guy who's 6'7", it's really a hard ask. It really is. Now Pete is a little different, but his body is not the best. He's not the best specimen. He's not like a Freddie Freeman in terms of body shape and body size. So I think you got to be wary with that. I want to sign Pete Alonso, but just be cognizant that we don't want to screw ourselves up in terms of payroll for the future. All right, now the number two thing I want to bring up is what the Giants did. The Giants signed Blake Snell, and they did a lot of moves this year. They did a lot of moves. A lot of Mets fans are saying, "Oh, we could have got one or two of these guys cheaply." And I give the Giants clap hands for them. They always wanted to try to sign a couple mega free agents, but they were kind of turned down. This year, they signed a lot of value players. Soler, the guy Lee from Korea. They just signed Blake Snell last night, Matt Chapman a week and a half ago, and they signed these guys to a lot of value contracts. I could see the fans being very excited. You got a lot of talent. The head of their rotation looks good. They got two really good guys. Not to mention they got Robbie Ray coming back, Alex Cobb. So that their rotation is going to be pretty well in line. And they got a couple hitters in Soler, the Korean sensation, and they got obviously Matt Chapman. So my comment would have to be none of those players really kind of fit the Mets situation at the end of the day. Number one, you see the Giants where they are. Their farm system is ranked in the bottom third of anywhere you look. They're ranked 21, 22, 23, 24, depending on who's ranking them, right? So they don't have necessarily a whole slew of guys ready to come up and ready to contribute. They've been looking for a stars also in the last couple of years. So they don't have prospects ready. They've been looking for stars. Fortunately, we have Lindor, we have Alonso in terms of star quality. But the Mets, we have a slew of guys who we want to give opportunities to, and we want to figure out what the heck is there. Like I said, at the end of the day, it could be to just build their value too. We've seen that the Steve Cohen teams are ready to pivot at the moment's notice. So I'm not ready. I'm not. I don't think we're going to see the team be stubborn. The team be stubborn if things are going wrong. So that's also a good thing. But I just see them as being in a whole different situation than the San Francisco Giants, and I congratulate the Giants. Those are a lot of exciting moves. They're bringing a lot of exciting players, Gold Glovers, Cy Young Award winners, sluggers. I mean, it's going to be very fun for the fans to watch. And I was trying to get a Soler here, a Martinez here, but I gotta trust in my guy David Stern. So again, like, subscribe, drop your comments. I will speak to you very soon. And as always, let's go Mets.